फ्रंट एंड वाले इतने बड़े ना, इतना क्या बनाते हैं ना
भाई अभी अभी समय रहने वाला हुआ है यार.
How the world changing.
What is an AI agent?
automation 2.0 we are getting to a point which is where it is getting reasonably good. Does it feel like human right now? No.
If you're not doing this right now, you're already behind.
Never written a code. Backend are the real abuser of Claude and all LLMs and everything.
Some trade secret. Engineers really, for a lack of better word, kya banao of everybody else.
Creativity used to be a luxury. Creativity is now a necessity. भाई मैं क्यों बनूँ 10x engineer? 10x salary दोगे? LLM is nothing you on cocaine without doing cocaine. दिक्कत जितनी बड़ी, एडवांस उतनी छोटी. रिसर्च यू हैव टू डू. वो टाइम गया बेटा जब कोडिंग कर ली, डीएसए कर ली. अब कुछ नहीं होने वाला उससे. यू हैव टू रियली बी वेरी क्रिएटिव अबाउट इट.
Yeah, we're not Jan LeCun or Sam Altmans or anything.
पहले वाले बंदे का मैं नाम भी नहीं बोल पा रहा भाई. क्या है?
Jan LeCun.
Jan LeCun. Okay.
We don't know
प्रधानमंत्री
if we are-
इंजीनियर विकास योजना गाइस.
हर घर बेहतरीन इंजीनियर तो हम भी हैं. But Hi guys, welcome to Shortcut Productions episode 3. We're here with a new format today
Yes sir.
and we have to guess because we don't think we are capable enough of talking about the topic on our own today.
Yes, absolutely.
So we have two experts here, software engineers, both of whom we could call as cracked engineers in their language.
Yeah.
Uh,
Awkward smiles on their faces.
Yeah, no.
But that's okay.
Go for it.
But yeah, that's what. So we are talking about AI engineering and how the world is changing.
So essentially, you will figure out what are all those hashtags doing on your LinkedIn feed. People talking about AI replacing engineers or people, everybody turning into a software developer. All of that should make sense by the end of this episode, right? That's why we got these two specific people who are actually right in the middle of all of this. I don't know what to exactly call it. I am not the right person, and hence we have them here, right?
Yeah, so we have two people who are in the trenches, building in AI day in, day out, who spend their whole working hours, waking up, sleeping, working on LLM models, working on building AI agents. We'll let them introduce themselves. But quickly, before we get in there, so if you're a founder, marketer, ops, developer, anybody, we're trying to cover a bunch of topics which will all be relevant to you. And we hope that you like it. All right, let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Start with Dhruv again.
Yeah.
Let's start with Dhruv. Dhruv, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Dhruv. I'm co-founder of Pipe. Pipe is simply put like mixed panel for AI agents. Before starting Pipe, I was at Facebook. I spent nearly 5 years there, my longest career stint. And I was particularly leading a couple of data and engineering teams in Facebook Marketplace and Instagram Shop. We grew these products from inception to around 110 million daily active users.
Wow.
I'm from Jaipur. So yeah, that's the city I love. Right now in Bangalore.
Wow. Ex-Facebook engineers are always a special.
Yeah, this is the guy who has been stealing all the ad budgets by.
Yeah, that was my salary.
Let's go. Bhai, कितना कमाया होगा?
Works for a lizard, man.
Yeah.
All right. Next is Chirag. Chirag.
Hi, I'm Chirag. Nobody on the table really knows me, and nobody does too. So I am a founding engineer. I have been a founding engineer for a couple of years, worked in multiple domains, and supposedly I'm the one that should be most affected by AI, but I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking.
Okay. So one nugget about Chirag before we start. He's the kind of guy who I would go to if I want to get something built as fast as possible. Like if you want to hack the fuck out of something, for me, Chirag is a go-to guy to figure it out, which is why we have him here on the show. And he actually does that for a living almost every day with whatever he does. And we'll go deeper into that.
Right. So every founder who's watching and who's trying to build something really fast, this is the guy, the 0 to 1 engineer you have been looking for. Here we go. Yes? Yeah?
No cap.
No cap. No.
So this episode is we're going inside companies.
Yeah.
We are breaking down how AI is being already used in companies, how you could use it in your particular business,
Yeah.
how engineers are screwing you over, as founders.
Yes.
And if you are an engineer, then either this episode is going to make you laugh or make you realize that you need to step up.
Or might make you cry.
Bro,
Content.
brutal.
Brutal. Chirag, you're going to get hit from your bro.
Maybe he's going to say such things. No, it will make people cry though. You don't know what he has planned.
True.
Let's see.
But I also want to set context with a very interesting story that happened to me and Ankit like 3-4 days ago. One of our friends called Dharmesh Ba, he's building a particular product, and he was here a few days ago, and we were just talking, and we met him like a month ago, and that's when he mentioned that he's looking for engineers. He's trying to hire more and more engineers, and he's not able to find one really well, right? He didn't find a fitting one for himself. Cut to 2-3 days ago when we met him, he comes here and he shows that the entire front end is built, right? All he did was he built like a very clean design with components and other nomenclature set karke, classes set karke. He set up a sketch file, right? And from that sketch file, he used cursor to immediately get the front end out. And trust me, the design to development leakage that usually happens, right? That was so low, it was almost impressive. It was like one of like very good front end engineers working on it. And that blew my mind, right? And then he also went ahead to tell that he has bought a cursor subscription for each of the engineers in the team, right? So I'm not 100% sure on what to make of it, but I think for every founder out there, there might be a lesson here.
All right, let's get into shortcuts.
Yes, let's get into shortcuts. The first thing that we want to, and this is the first time, guys, you can see that we have a fancier studio now.
Yes. Thanks to your love and views. And before you go, like, share, subscribe, guys. Everybody on the table.
Yes. Comment, guys.
If you haven't watched the last episode, please go and watch it again and comment. You guys share feedback with us individually on our WhatsApp, on DMs,
WhatsApp पे मत लिखो, comment करो guys.
Just one request, just go and put it out there in the world. It helps us. It helps everybody else. Good, bad, ugly, whatever. It's completely fine. We'd love to get your feedback, but please share it more openly. All right. I think I want to get into the first segment on that note.
Right.
And the first segment is around AI agents and how AI agents are changing functional work. When I say functional work, it could be marketing, it could be sales, it could be ops, it could be HR. We'll come to devs and engineers slightly later.
Let's set ground with a definition like what is an AI agent. So we had Excel macros at some point. So that's automated Excel routines that it can run. Then we have something like a Zapier, which can automate workflows for you, right? Take APIs and talk to each other and conduct some action, right? How are these versus an AI agent different? For somebody who does not understand that, right? How do I tell them why the existing software versus why a chat GPT, which happens to be an agent of some sort, right? How are they different? Like what's the real difference here?
So AI agents, I see them as automation 2.0, right? Like newer form of automation. There has always been a very big field in software called RPA, robotic process automation. This is a newer version of it, like, or I would say extension of it. There are two kind of agents to start with. One is that these are processes in place, very much like how Zapier does. That you have a set of process which needs to be followed. So we built something similar. It was an underwriting report agent. So when you want to lend to someone, you create underwriting report to start with. In order to create that report, you collect data. Say it's a business. So you will start by collecting their annual reports, their income tax returns, and these kind of documents, which gives you some idea of how big that company is, how credible it is. So what happens is, if I give you 5 standard format documents, your Zapiers of the world and UI parts of the world, they would process them. They would extract data from there. Like you would have selected what fields to extract from. That's very static, right? You will process all those things. Once you have extracted the data properly, you will process them accordingly as per your use case. For you, if let's say you start accepting, you were dealing with SMEs, now you want to support startups as well. So they'll not be able to send you annual reports or ITR. They'll send you probably their MIS.
Right.
So now your tool would not work because it's pre-coded, customized for it. So that's where traditional RPA differs from these current LLMs. Because now LLM powered RPA is more like where it's much more abstract. It's much flexible in terms of you send it a document, it'll understand that, okay, this is not an annual report, but it's MIS. For a startup, it means the same thing. They'll only be tracking revenue in and like whatever cost they're bearing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it adopts. So your workflow becomes a little bit more flexible. This is one form of agents. Another form of agents, which is mind blowing to me, is more autonomous. I would not even mention underwriting report. I would say I want to check how credible they are. I want to disperse loan. Then that AI agent would say, okay, then let me first create a report for them.
Right.
Let's call it underwriting report. Based on this report, I'll highlight these things. Then based on this, you will be able to allocate like X credit to this person. So here, that autonomous agent would be acting as someone expert in lending. Right? So you see the difference? That's how you gain another level of flexibility, where you don't have to set up any processes in place.
I saw a very, very, very interesting use case using agents. So like agents, like just like you use ChatGPT and everything, there is a voice component to it as well, if you might have used that,
Yeah.
right? So some companies are building voice agents, which is basically voice on top of an LLM. That's it. Whatever it is throwing out, it's now speaking. And we are getting to a point which is where it is getting reasonably good. Is it better than human right now? Yes, because it's powered by LLM. But does it feel like human right now? No. It's getting there. So I know somebody who worked in real estate. I cannot name names right now, right? So he saw the whole process. So what they generally have, big real estate companies like Bhutani and everyone, what they have is a swarm of agents that do cold calling for projects. Swarm. Because cold calling in property rarely works, right? Property is something like, property is a religion in India, right? People want to test it thoroughly and then they will buy it.
Right.
They might not even after like token money,
Right.
So what they thought of is like, this is a person, right? This person has a script, very simple script. Sir, ये चाहिए, सर नहीं चाहिए, नहीं सर स्क्वायर फीट है, द्वारका पे एक्सप्रेस वे आ रहा है, this and that, this and that, this and that, and people don't really get convinced क्योंकि जो प्रो प्रॉपर्टी बायर होता है ना, वो कर्व मारता है,
Right.
और हर सेल्स एजेंट उससे नहीं ले पाता,
Right.
क्योंकि सेल्स इज ऑल्सो अ पैशन, इट्स नॉट
Right. Very
something-
much.
सेल्स इज अ पैशन, बेचने का फितूर होना चाहिए, बिकता नहीं, ठीक है? तो व्हाट दे आर डूइंग वेरी स्मार्टली, सारे कॉर्नर केसेस पकड़े, सारे अच्छे एजेंट्स हो जो उनके सेल्स एजेंट थे, सबको साथ बिठाया और उनको बोला 4 घंटे एक दूसरे से मत्था मार, बताओ, सारी नॉलेज फेंको बाहर, क्या क्या है, क्या क्या हुआ, एनेक्डोट्स बताओ. दे ट्रांसक्रिप्टेड इट, दे फेड दिस एज अ कंटेक्स्ट टू LLM, लाइक उसको बता दिया कि देख ये है जो मुद्दे चलते हैं.
This is awesome.
ठीक है, उसको आ गई बात.
If you're a real estate company watching this, please DM.
Yeah.
Please DM. He knows me. I can get you that fast. Just give me 1% of whatever you are doing. Just that, please.
दो BHK बंगला भी चलता है.
2 BHK for him. I cannot do less than 4 BHK. Have some fucking standards, man. Have some fucking. गुड़गांव में भी 2 BHK चाहिए.
भाई मैं अभी AI एजेंसी बना रहा हूँ बैठ के.
हाँ,
भूते पैसे नहीं बना रहा.
अरे कोई नहीं, गेट रिप्लेस्ड और बिल्ड इट, ऐसे माइंडसेट बता हम पे. फॉर्ड का तो उन्होंने पूरी नॉलेज बेस बना लिया, राइट? और अब LLM को पता है व्हाट वर्क्स, एज केसेस कहाँ से निकालने, जो उन्होंने साल भर में कलेक्ट किए थे कि ये वाला बायर ये मारेगा, शर्मा जी ये मारेंगे, शर्मा जी की EMI हमेशा अटकेगी, इनको लोन नहीं मिलता, इनको ये नहीं मिलता, नए कर्व बॉल्स आ रहे, ठीक है? दे फिगर्ड इट आउट. तो इन्होंने क्या किया, एजेंट, हाउ मेनी कॉल्स एजेंट कैन मेक इन अ डे, वेरी प्रैक्टिकली. वो सुट्टा भी पिएगा, लंच भी करेगा, ये मत बोलना 8 घंटे का, 8 घंटे कोई काम नहीं करता, ठीक है?
Sales agent.
Sales
कितनी
agent
call
barely
करेगा?
make 20, 30.
What do you guess?
I would say somewhere around 50 to 100 calls तो कर लेंगे.
Okay, and what do you think? Same?
20 to 50.
How many of that converts?
So generally, like I have, my brother is in this like real estate sales. So I know like for them, if it's an outreach, then conversion they keep under 5%. 5% is like very high bar for them.
Very high number. Yes. मतलब-
Generally like 1-2% is good.
2%.
If they go stretch it a little, 3-4%.
But now you don't really call 50 people in a day now. Now it becomes a function of your money. कितनी कॉलें करनी है instead
Right.
of कि कितने बंदे हैं.
It's an unlimited guy.
हाँ, voice is beyond a robot, like जिससे बात नहीं कर सकते, but is way less than human, but gets the idea through. बात कर सकते हो जब आप मिलता है,
Right.
और जब आप सुन के लगता भी है कि हाँ भाई बात तो सही हो रही है, बात गलत नहीं है.
Right.
बात जब तक लॉजिकल है, कौन कर रहा है रियरली मैटर्स, क्योंकि जिससे आप कॉल पे भी बात करते हो सेल्स में, आप उसको जानते नहीं.
Right.
That's another robot just has a face.
Right.
राइट? तो उन्होंने यही किया एंड देयर कन्वर्जन स्टार्टेड इंक्रीजिंग. क्यों? क्योंकि दे स्टार्टेड गेटिंग ट्रस्ट. वो पूछ रहे हैं आपकी रेरा रेटिंग क्या है, वो कह रहे हैं सर रेरा सर्टिफाइड है, आपको लिंक बता देते हैं, लॉगिन बता देते हैं, आप जाके डाउनलोड कर लो, ये कर लो, वो कर लो। आप कब से हो इंडस्ट्री में, तो वो बता रहा है कि वी हैव बीन इन 20 ईयर्स, कितने प्रोजेक्ट्स किए हैं, और वो 100 प्रोजेक्ट बता रहा है। वो बता रहा है कि ये जो गाइडलाइंस आई है आप ये फॉलो कर रहे हो, और उन्होंने नई इंटीग्रेशंस कर रखी है जो वेब पे जाके चेक कर लेता है। लिटिल एडवांस बट नॉट ग्राउंड ब्रेकिंग थिंग। ट्रस्ट बढ़ रहा है, कन्वर्जन बढ़ रहा है। और वो
how much did the conversion spike?
I cannot really say a number, but it was function of both money spent
Right.
and the office expenses, like all the operational expenses that came like down. उन्होंने क्या किया, 100 लोगों की टीम हुआ करती थी जो कोल्ड कॉलिंग करती थी हर स्केल पे, अच्छे
Right.
अच्छे 10 रखे, 90 को फायर कर दिया। और वो 10 क्या करते हैं कि एजेंट की भी एक लिमिटेशन है, वो जो आप वॉइस लगा रखे हो हर चीज नहीं कर पाएगा, ही इज नॉट अ ह्यूमन। सेल्स हैज अ वेरी हाई ह्यूमन फैक्टर, ठीक है,
Right.
बेचना बहुत हार्ड है। एक पॉइंट पे आके वो उनको एजेंट्स को हैंड ऑफ कर देते कन्वर्जन से जस्ट पहले, जहां पे वो होता है ना लास्ट पुश, वो ह्यूमन मार देता है।
Right. Right.
तो डील्स ज्यादा क्लोज हो रही हैं, बंदे भी ले ऑफ हो रहे हैं,
Nice.
लेकिन वही है जिसका वाकई में सेल्स करने का मन है, ही इज थ्राइविंग मैन, ही इज थ्राइविंग। जो कर सकता है ही इज थ्राइविंग, उसका तो काम आसान हो गया। आप 4 डील मारते महीने की, अब 40 मार लोगे, आपको आता है बेचना। सो दैट वाज
Very
अ क्रेजी थिंग आई
interesting.
लाइक्ड।
So this is in real estate, mind you.
A very interesting thing is that currently I'm speaking to a founder. We're trying to help them with GTM. What they are building, and they're actually doing a pilot with some of the largest builders in the country. They're solving for project management, and the software does autonomous project management. So once the construction project starts, the number of stakeholders is very high and dependencies are very convoluted, right? And the typical user is not a developer. Like if it was a software product, I would have developers doing Jira and GitHub and whatnot, right? This guy doesn't know how to use tech, right? Construction case mein. This guy is, the founder is building a completely, almost 100% autonomous project management, right? Where you feed in all the items, you feed in all the stakeholders, and rest is just managed, right? The first pilot is happening with one of India's largest business houses. Okay, I can't name them right now, but one of India's largest business houses. They have a massive project coming up somewhere in the southern India, right? And that entire project is being managed by this guy. And it's very powerful. I think real estate adoption is super duper high.
I actually
Very
saw something similar. There are a lot of like these visual models, right, which
Right.
help you basically image recognition of sorts,
Yeah.
but more on the video side. The property which I bought in Gurgaon, I get these quarterly reports of where the construction has reached. They have automated the whole process where they send just they do not use drone as much as I know, or maybe in few cases they do, but they send one person now who will be just sitting in a car, probably would step out, roll around, take that camera out and click pictures, and that whole report will be created for customers and it will be sent to you on your WhatsApp.
So it's all an automated pipeline.
All an automated that
Wow.
you need not to
Interesting.
tell them that how many floors are completed. It will take a picture. It will say, okay, out of like it's a 40 floor building, so 20 floors are done, and you will get a report based on, and it's highly customizable too. So since they have access to my data, they'll know that okay, we have 4 floors constructed. Yours is let's say on 20th floor. So it'll take it'll take us 1 more year to reach there, or like 6 more months to reach there.
Right.
So you see like how they have connected that visual intelligence with the contextual intelligence of a particular user, and they could give you the exact timelines of, boss, we have built these 4 floors.
That's a very personalized
That's a
message.
very personalized message.
It's hard to achieve
Which
personalized
like no
at
person would
scale.
do.
Yeah.
Which no person would do, by the way. They'll create a generic report,
Yeah.
even if it's a team of 10 people. So that's where I think real estate is really picking things up very quickly.
So I just want to, I think this for me is a very, very big important point with AI personally, that it's personalization at scale, at unlimited scale, right? Whenever in my past history as working on growth, it is always cohorts, right? You size out a particular set of users, then you try A/B testing, whether it's messaging, whether it's application, whether it's user interfaces, right? It's always about segmenting users.
You find that common ground between
you segment users into a bunch and then you try and run experiments. I think we can go beyond. That you don't actually need any segmentation. You can go individually at a user level and then deliver. It's almost like what Meta gives you as a user at a feed level.
Correct.
It's then the algorithm is trained for you, can be adopted to any single company which has a bunch of customers, and every message, every communication, everything can be personalized.
Right. 100%.
Yeah, that has always been the intention behind AI. That it needs to democratize knowledge.
very interesting cases about real estate, which was the last place I expected AI to already start making an impact.
Right.
I think what we covered is sales to some extent, use cases of sales
Right.
in AI. Before we move to the next segment in marketing and in content, can you give us ideas on if you're not doing this right now, you're already behind?
I think the one more thing that has changed is on the space of digital marketing. Like you see these ads, right, where you have to create these interactive ads, banners, and everything.
Right.
And it really took a lot of time because you hire like controversial again, low skilled people to do that. They would take a day to check, right, and then they call it creative
Correct.
and then correct it. But if you want to A/B test your ads, right, like this works, this this gets clicked. Now you have a scope where you can generate like, let's say, first iteration of 20 different things. And with your experience, which is more relevant than ever, you can really find out the 5 good ones rather than somebody is going to come up with you. You are going to scold them. Yaar, tu aise kyun nahi kar raha, waise kyun nahi kar raha. That LLM who's going to do that, right? Chat GPT or anything you are asking it to do has more context than your team combined, because it has seen a lot of variations over the time. Like, uske baad jo data hai na, it's like very magical that you are able to compress everything into something that works. But it really has a lot of context, and you have to understand it has context of what worked historically, and this is how you were doing already things. आप भी अपनी understanding पे ही चलते हो. It's not like you are not being creative all the time.
Correct.
You become repetitive, and once you are very
You
comfortable
follow a
with-
playbook generally.
Yeah.
What
Yeah, we reference our memory as a database and then
Correct.
come back with our thoughts on it.
Creativity used to be a luxury thing that experienced people hold. Creativity is now a necessity because everything else is done for.
Correct.
Yeah.
Beautifully put.
Well put.
Within media also, I think the specific things you were saying. So there are every time a media team or a marketing team generally had to do something with numbers. Correct. So marketing में जितना भी workflow exist करता है, right? I think every workflow that was well structured, that had been indicated by other marketers कि यार this is what you have to do step by step, that is completely gone.
I
That is
agree.
not coming back.
That's not an alpha anymore for anybody.
Not at all.
And in fact, if you're not doing the basics, you're already dead,
Yeah.
right? You won't even survive. That's where we are.
If you are able to break down your problem, that means you have understanding of problem. If you have understanding of problem and only one skill, you can break it into individual isolated components.
Yeah, that's like half the problem solved.
Yeah, you win. And with LLMs, LLM is nothing you on cocaine without doing cocaine. Okay? If you can do this.
I like his one line. You're going to save all of them and put them on a poster.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think on this note, we already have surfaced into the second segment, which is engineers and AI and how things are changing. We've already covered a bit around documentation.
Right. So
what
I want
just hate.
I have a conflict of interest here.
Yes, sir.
I pray to AI Jesus, so anything against him will hold you accountable. So please.
That's because you're scared of like AI will become the slave lord and in future they'll treat you nicely.
I would like to be a slave of AI, gonna be better than humans. Yeah. And if you really think humans are better, then either you don't live here or I am mad.
He's the kind of person who will betray humankind when there is like
this,
Skynet in the world.
Like this. Humans, the only thing I hate more than cockroaches and everything
is human.
You know, like people say it's user experience. All I had with human was loser experience.
Damn.
भाई ये बंदा Instagram कितना आप scroll करते हो सही से बताओ.
I don't. I read a lot.
Punchlines to punchlines.
Punchline आ रही है.
I read a lot. That's all. Like I babble a lot. I watch a lot of content.
अभी तक आपने content like बोला है उसके साथ मुझे लग रहा है AI से बात करके आए थे आपकी मेरे को 10 लाइन दे. Chat GPT give me 10 things to say, one liner.
नहीं, I think आधा घंटा हो गया तो तो मैं.
That is true.
Now
I told you na.
Now the memory is database.
I meant it. Keep me on this.
Perfect.
Awesome. Let's get it.
I think we've already reached a point where we want to move to the next segment, and the previous conversation is a nice bridge. Okay.
All right. Coming into the second segment, I think this will be fun for a lot of people. A lot of people hire agencies, dev shops, etc. today who get bullshitted quite a bit, and things don't come up either on time or cost overruns are there. So we want you to reveal some trade secrets on where engineers really for a lack of better word, now of everybody else. That is one. And the second is, if anybody wants to build today, what tools to use, how do you go about using them, and how far can they get you, right? So maybe just to give a very broad structure, we have front end, we have back end, we have DevOps, all kinds of different types of engineers in their sub functions that exist. But if I were to throw up in the air today that, let's say there is a feature that I want a currency calculator, for example, because I trade commodities on the side or forex on the side as a side hustle. Can I do it myself? If yes, how?
So I actually have a great example for this. My uncle is a doctor. He's a hematologist and he's in like one of the army hospitals. Hematology is a very niche segment in healthcare, if I'm right. Not like diabetes, which gets like everybody's attention. It's a very specific niche thing, and many a times he needs like these kind of internal tools which could help him calculate certain things. So, like one example which he quoted was that when he gets a report, there are, I think, around 15 metrics. I'm just calling them metrics. They are basically vitals of a person.
Sure.
But let's say there are 15 metrics which he needs to calculate and come to a number. That number will basically tell him that what he needs to do next, suggest another test or prescribe a medicine, something like that. So this was a very manual process for him. And since there are, I think, around 8 or 9 doctors which are specialized in hematology in that whole hospital. So they could not get any agency to do it for them because such a small problem. He used ChatGPT to wrote a script in R. R has a good UI through R Studio.
Sorry, what is R? You might want to just...
R is a statistical analysis tool, very much like how you use Python. R is a different programming language specifically designed for statistical analysis.
Right.
So he wrote a script in R, added a R Studio ka UI, all using ChatGPT. He shared that app with those 8 doctors. Those 8 doctors are using it through and throughout.
And he's a completely non-technical.
He's a doctor.
He's never written
a code in
life, never even seen a line.
He's a nerd, definitely. He likes to learn things. Never written a code. Through and throughout a doctor. He wrote that app which is being used on a daily basis by those 8 doctors. He knew that it has a limited scope, but individually it had a high impact on him. And it was a very big trouble for him. Like he was spending around 30 minutes roughly on a patient. Out of that, like 10 minutes were just going into this.
So was this like a web app?
It's a web app. Yeah.
It's a web app.
It's a web app. Yeah. So anything which you build on these programming language and you create a UI on it, generally is a web app. So he did it, like it impacted his individual life a lot. He did not have to hire an agency for it. And he did it for practically nothing. And like he's praised, at least in a social circle, he's praised now for this. So these kind of things becoming accessible now.
That is solid.
I'll just take a step back department wise. So testing is fucked. Testing is all about discovery.
What is testing, please?
Testing is testing, actually. When you build something, you test it. You want to be sure that it's what you are promising or what you are being promised to, right? Testing.
So you mean here that whatever code has been written performs to the right status?
Let's say you have a button that is a checkout button, right? Somebody has to make sure that it's a checkout button. It does not make
it's working.
Nothing else, like, redirects you to something. So testing is all about discovery, right? कि ये चला के देखा, वो चला के देखा, and you just write like 10 हाथ ChatGPT. It has a lot of context. It will give you कि क्या हो सकता है, because 90% times all we are testing the same thing. वो 10% edge cases होते हैं and we count for that. तो उसके लिए कोई बंदा नहीं चाहिए, like team of swarm of engineers नहीं चाहिए, testers नहीं चाहिए. तो SDET, SWT, these guys are done for. मतलब ये तो इनका तो do or die है इस time कि skill up or die down. क्योंकि ये लोग क्या करते थे, they would spend their life in JMeter and everything. Like these platforms like don't even code. Like you used to have a manual tester and automation tester. That's like a two different thing. But what the hell? But I think that teams are converging to a point where कि testing भी जो लिखेगा वही करेगा. जिसका कोड है वो टेस्ट करो, अपने आप करो, और इतना बेकार लिखते हैं क्योंकि एक बंदा बिठाना पड़े. तो मतलब उस तरफ हम कन्वर्ज हुए हैं. ठीक है. दूसरी चीज फ्रंट एंड वाले इतने बड़े होते हैं ना, इतना बनाते हैं ना, बनाते हैं ना भाई. आई एम अ बैकएंड गाय और काइंड ऑफ अ इंफ्रा गाय. तो माय वर्क इज वेरी लॉजिकल. ठीक है, वेरी स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड. मतलब शाम तक या तो होगा या नहीं होगा, इसके बीच में कोई आंसर नहीं है इसमें. फ्रंट एंड में पता है क्या होता है? कंपोनेंट. What do you mean by that, man? What do you mean by that? Like what? सर वो रिएक्ट, ये काम की बात कभी नहीं करते भाई. एक पाइथन पे ना बंदों ने ब्लैक होल की फोटो ले ली, इनसे HTML, CSS, जावास्क्रिप्ट, JSX, रिएक्ट और दुनिया भर के फ्रेमवर्क डाल लो, इनसे एक करोड़ नहीं बनता। ठीक है, उसमें ये होगा वो होगा, डिजाइन UI UX पागल बनाते हैं। इसका प्रूफ क्या है? मैंने फ्रंट एंड कभी नहीं किया, आई हैड वेरी बेसिक अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ इट। जितना मैंने किया है ना बैक एंड ही किया है, तो मुझे लगता था वैसा होगा, मैंने डर में किया भी नहीं। एंटर द क्लॉड, सिंपल प्रॉम्प्टिंग कि ये बनाना है, एबिलिटी टू ब्रेक इट डाउन, दैट्स इट। लाइक मैं लिख यही रहा हूँ कि आई वांट अ साइन अप पेज, मिनिमलिस्टिक UI, कवर दिस फंक्शनैलिटी, और वो मुझे वर्ड टू वर्ड करके दे रहा है। नो डिवाइन इंटरवेंशन, no nothing, just simple, plain and sight. So if I'm somebody who's testing something, ये चलेगा और इसमें एक टेक्निकल कंपोनेंट है, आई थिंक दिस इज देयर हियर। और फिर लोग कहेंगे कि यार यू नीड अ इंजीनियर, यू नीड ड्राइव भाई। जब इफ यू आर अ फाउंडर और समवन हु स्टार्टिंग, सेल्स भी सीखते हो, मार्केटिंग भी सीखते हो, और ये कंपैरेटिवली बहुत हार्ड है किसी रैंडम AI से बात करने से। तो दिस इज लाइक नाउ यू रियली नो, लाइक तेरे सामने एक बंदा बैठा है जो तेरी प्रॉब्लम का आंसर देगा, वो प्रॉब्लम क्यों आ रही है, इफ यू आस्क इट राइट वो भी बता देगा, एंड इट हैज अ लॉट ऑफ कंटेक्स्ट। सो दिस वाज बैकएंड आई थिंक बैकएंड आर द रियल अब्यूजर ऑफ क्लॉड एंड ऑल LLMs एंड एवरीथिंग, क्योंकि इनको आ गया है समझ कि कोकेन इज नॉट दैट बैड, इट्स ऑल अबाउट कंटेक्स्ट। ठीक है, तो इट्स ऑल अबाउट कंटेक्स्ट कि कैसे यूज करते हो। अगर कोई बंदा दिन की एक ही लाइन करता है ना, तो ही इज फार बेटर देन जो पूरे दिन कुक करता है। ठीक है, I don't do. I don't.
He seems to know a lot about coke.
Yeah, I hang out with the wrong crowd in Delhi, so I know a lot about lot things, but I can't say ना, कैंसर नहीं होना।
भाई अभी अभी समय रहने वाला हुआ है यार, ये नहीं कर रहा हूँ।
नहीं।
भाई हमारा कोक से कोई लेना देना नहीं है गाइस। एक बार ये वाला फिर से बताओ, you said backend guys backend guys are the real abusers of this tech.
Yeah,
right?
like
What does that mean?
What do you mean by abuse?
abuse is like, you know, like you are asking me how to navigate AI, he's asking me how to navigate AI, those figured out how to navigate AI ना, तो वो तुम्हें क्यों बताएंगे भाई? मैं क्यों बनूं 10x इंजीनियर? 10x सैलरी दोगे? दोगे या वो कैपिटलिस्टिक डायस्टोपियन में लेके जाओगे? पैसे नहीं देंगे, काम कर दे। तो दे आर वेटिंग, इंजीनियर्स आर अ वेरी स्मार्ट ब्रीड। पता है क्यों? दे इफ दे फिगर इट आउट ना, दे विल नॉट टेल यू जिस जैसा चल रहा है चलने दे। ठीक है, जब तुमको लगेगा ना कि प्रेशर आ रहा है निकालने का, देन दे विल टेल यू। तो एज अ फाउंडर व्हाट यू कैन डू राइट नाउ इज यू कैन बी वेरी स्मार्ट। अब तुम्हें फ्रंट एंड वाले से बात करनी है, दिस प्रॉब्लम कम्स अप ना कि वो इतना टाइम बोल रहा है, आस्क हिम टू राइट 1 पेज और 2 पेज फॉर इट, और आस्क हिम चल LLM से ही लिखवा। यूज दैट कंटेक्स्ट, फिट इट इनटू अ मॉडल ऑफ योर चॉइस, अंडरस्टैंड दैट मॉडल, और मॉडल समझना ना कोई पहाड़ नहीं तोड़ना। रीड 2 पेज डॉक्यूमेंट्स की ये किस फॉर्मेट में चीजें एक्सपेक्ट कर रहा है। हर मॉडल का अपना होता है, हर प्रोवाइडर का अपना होता है। व्हाट वर्क्स इन क्लॉड माइट वर्क इन ChatGPT, बट दे हैव देयर ओन गाइडलाइंस। और वो जानने का तरीका सिंपल है, कहीं नहीं जाना, डॉक्स वॉक्स ऐसी तैसी में गए, गो टू देयर ट्विटर हैंडल्स, दे पोस्ट देयर अपडेट्स देयर एंड पीपल डिस्कस इट आउट, यू विल गेट द कंटेक्स्ट कि क्या चल रहा है क्या नहीं चल रहा। जस्ट पुट दैट डॉक्यूमेंट, आस्क हिम वेरी स्ट्रिक्टली कि ये पागल बना रहा है क्या? Can there be an alternative approach to it? When you get that, discuss it with him कि भाई तू A क्यों कर रहा है जब इसने B बोला है, फिर वो समझाएगा आपको कि वो क्यों कर रहा है। You can keep it in cycle, and when you are comfortable, right, which can be very fast if you do this, right, just बोलो फिर कि बना लो।
I think we should create an app where founders can detect engineers bullshitting.
Yeah, 100%.
One
That
article,
would be a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
हाँ, एक आर्टिकल में पढ़ रहा था जो कह रहा था कि आवरली वेजेस आर डाइंग, इट्स बिकमिंग मोर गोल ओरिएंटेड। अब ये नहीं होगा कि तेरे को हार्ड वर्क के पैसे मिलेंगे, नो, गोल ओरिएंटेड है। मुझे लगता है 30 घंटे लगेंगे, मैंने ये वेज सेट कर दिया, अब तू शाम तक बना, 2 महीने में बना, दैट्स ऑन यू।
तो चिराग, मुझे आपकी बातों से 2 चीजें समझ आई, राइट? पहला ये दैट इफ अ फाउंडर इज गेटिंग सम इनपुट, मतलब उसको कोई भी वर्बाटिम मिलता है किसी डेवलपर से या डेवलपमेंट एजेंसी से, राइट, दे कैन जस्ट पुश इट टू अ क्लॉड और समबडी एंड अंडरस्टैंड, लाइक decrypt it for themselves, right? उनको क्लियरली समझ आ जाएगा क्या कर सकते क्या नहीं कर सकते। दूसरा, when you took a step back and told us about testing is completely fucked, right? It can be easily productized with an LLM right now. दूसरा आपने front end वाला बताया।
I want to poke you a bit there. And correct me if I'm wrong.
I will.
Backend is logic, hardcore, right? And I understand that GPT understands logic better than anything else. More than creativity, it understands logic, it understands hard-coded stuff, right? So shouldn't a back-end engineer be more replaceable if it's more hardcore logic?
You need to understand what replace means. Are you saying replaced by an AI, or you mean like team of 10 engineers, now a team of 6
Let's talk both.
assisted by AI?
Let's go to both.
Spectrum है, spectrum
I-
है, दोनों बताओ.
Not replaceable. Engineering is more than just coding. It's context, it's business logic, it's creativity. Creativity in that sense.
So when I say replace, let me add more context. I mean fractionalize.
That's happening.
I don't even need, let alone a team.
Hmm.
I can essentially fractionalize my engineering hours and give it to maybe somebody like you, who's more like a fractional CMO, which today is more common. Maybe a fractional engineer or a fractional backend engineer. Do you see that as happening more frequent? Like, as
What is a fractional backend engineer? Like someone who's playing other roles as well as
Part-timer,
backend engineer?
part-timer.
Yeah, so think of it as a part-time role.
I like, if you were finishing your thought, please go for it. I have a different perspective.
Yeah, no.
it's a question.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm just
I
throwing it out.
just to add on to this point, you cannot do anything fractional right now. I think in terms of team, but 10 people could do right now, 6 or 8 people could do, depends on industry to industry basis. If you are in finance, you are not going to take risk with AI. It's not,
right.
it's a lot of problems. But if
Right.
you are somebody who wants to get out fast, or somebody who जिसके साथ खून माफ है bugs के, you might wanna add AI agents or however you can, and like just keep 5 to 6 people. What do you think about this?
So I like, very well put actually. So fractional thing I believe would not work now. Mostly because like, as a backend engineer, let's say, I am more in support of backend engineer being much more amplified through LLMs than front end engineer, because backend always like happens sequentially. So you build a backend, then you improve it, and it's very contextual. Like what worked for Netflix would not work for Facebook or would not work for Google. So you need someone who's an expert in understanding what situation we are in. Are we getting like huge influx of impressions, or are we getting huge influx of interactions, for
So
example?
the logic needs a constant upgrade with context.
First of all, to start with, you need to understand where you are, what exactly you want out of that software or that backend. Do you want, what kind of performance you want? Very
Right.
simple put, if we follow the CRUD example, do you want your apps to be more read? Like for example, Twitter is optimized for read operations,
Right.
because most of the people read chats, but do not like create posts.
Yeah.
Instagram probably would be optimized for write, because you are uploading video reels,
Right.
and it's a much heavier operation than watching it. So first of all, you
Right.
need to understand the context of the backend. If you don't understand that, then your LLM would go haywire to start with. Okay? So you need to tame it first of all.
Would you be able to draw some line somewhere? We don't really have to draw it, but for founders, the advice is that if you think you want to build an MVP, or your app is like really simple and your business doesn't depend on selling this piece of software,
Yeah.
right? Then maybe you can go ahead and try to replace Eng as a...
I would say yes. And that has always been advice, even
Right.
before LLMs. So generally it's a saying, if you're starting up for MVP, you don't need a UI designer,
Correct.
for example.
Correct.
You just need one engineer.
Correct.
But what used to happen is the standard or level of your MVP has significantly improved now. You actually do not need a designer even for like your version 1 and 2, not just MVP.
So we have discussed a lot of interesting things so far. We just want to wrap up this section, which is a founder trying to build something new, or a founder in the 0 to 1 build journey. To quite an extent, 2 takeaways for me here, right? A, if the engineering jargon is not going to be a problem anymore, right? And how it impacted your timelines, estimates, cost. Things are more and more transparent around getting an engineering agent working with you, right? That's one. Second is, if you wanted to build an MVP yourself, right?
There's never been a better time.
There has never been a better time. Like, you should go out there, try building it yourself, and you will get as further as you could have ever gotten with that.
So I feel like how startups used to operate, that will change significantly, because initially we used to build something bare minimum, like MVP was minimum viable product. And it's a YC concept too, that they call it that now you can build MRP, that is minimum remarkable product. So that's basically that you will build multiple versions so quickly that you can choose the best one out of it.
Right.
So again, it ties up with whatever conversation we have been having, that the bare minimum standard would go up.
0 to 10 is the new 0 to 1.
0 to... Wow,
Yeah.
sir.
One more.
Oh, let's go. 0 to 10 is the new 0 to 1 by...
Let's
Super.
move to the next segment.
Yes. Which is
How is AI moving in 2025 and beyond? We'll not talk about AGI because I don't think any of us are experts at.
Yeah, neither are we like
Yeah.
Jan LeCun or Sam Altman.
Yeah, we're not Jan LeCun or Sam Altmans or anything.
पहले वाले बंदे का मैं नाम भी नहीं बोल पा रहा भाई, क्या है?
Jan LeCun.
Ryan Ligun, okay.
So, but we have two people building in the trenches at the forefront of operating LLMs on a day-to-day basis, building out tools on it. How the day DeepSeek launched, how fast did you guys try it out? How much time after you guys tried?
Next day we had done in our next day.
Couldn't quite same day, but it was down.
Yeah.
So with trying out is easier. We like added that into a tool next day.
Oh,
Wow.
So we have people who are at the edge and can tell us on how they are looking at things and where the ship is sailing. I want to enter into the third and most interesting segment where we all just go berserk.
Yes.
And I want to open this with a line inspired by Prime Minister.
Before you go ahead, guys, we have fresh coffee. This is the freshest part of the podcast coming in now. If
Stick around.
If somebody can share it enough that it reaches Pradhan Mantri ji, I think we have a proposition for the next big program that will make him win the elections. Ankit.
So I want to throw it open to the floor. Will we see a Har Ghar Engineer going forward?
बेहतरीन engineer.
हर घर बेहतरीन इंजीनियर तो हम भी हैं, but
Pradhan
we don't know if we are.
Engineer Vikas Yojana, guys. That is what we are on to. And Chirag.
Floor is open.
राशन की दुकान पे कर्सर मिला करेगा.
Let's go.
Let's go. राशन की दुकान पे कर्सर.
राशन की दुकान पे कर्सर मिला करेगा. और everybody has a right to, you know, like 5 टोकन्स मिला करेंगे किसी भी आपके चोजन मॉडल के ना, फ्री में सब ट्राई करेंगे. एंड उस पे जो भी आपके जितनी भी गवर्नमेंट स्कीम्स आएंगी ना, वो सब एआई पे वैलिड होंगी. तो अगर आप शादी करते हो एआई से, तो वो जो 5,000 रुपए वो बहन बचाओ बेटी बचाओ योजना के थे, वो आपको मिलेंगे.
Nice.
Just coming back to the point, what we expect, or here's, let me give you a hot take, like my expectations. I don't know whether it will be right or wrong. I think we are close to a future where if I want a feature or if I want an app, I can just ask my phone to do it and it'll get done instantly. Even today, Replit exists for me to build small, single personalized apps which might only work on my phone for a short period of time for some use cases. I think they're already there. Being able to do it at scale, being able to do it in a personalized way, being able to do it instantly is where I expect things to go. Is this a right assumption? If yes, how far? Is this an absolutely wrong, cocky assumption? Tell me more why.
I think it's a reasonable assumption, and this is where we are moving. So LLMs are already simplifying what you do. We talked about agent tools and everything. Okay. I think the problem is that, let's say you make an app, Android app. You use something called Android Studio for it, right? जो आपके लैपटॉप पे चलता है. It's a framework, or you can say पूरा set of tools to make it in a reasonable amount of time. ठीक है, hides a lot of things, but I don't think it was ever built with the intention of using it with LLMs. So I think there is depth to what you can do on your own. The frameworks you are using or the tools you are using have to be enabled in that manner as well.
Chirag, I'm getting a bit confused, but
Okay.
You said it's a reasonable assumption that you can expect this to happen.
Yeah.
Right? Now, there are two thoughts that come into my mind when you said that. One, let's say I use Flipkart. Right?
Okay.
There are 100 million plus users of Flipkart already. I find certain features missing in Flipkart.
Just like one.
Let me say as an example that I want to import addresses that my wife has stored in her because I want to order at her mother's place. I don't want to type out that whole address when she's right beside me and just maybe get a one-click access to it. Flipkart's team might not even consider this in their roadmap as an important feature.
Right.
I don't care. For me as a user, I want that problem solved right then. If just a very random example, right? do you think apps or technology companies will give this power back to can give this power to their users to be able to personalize their applications at scale residing in every phone, where your and mine Flipkart look very different because of the kind of feature folks that we built over a period of time? Do you one, do you think it will happen? Two, technically, is it going to be a very, very big challenge which we cannot overcome?
I think
Technically,
I have a thought on this. So it's happening. It's going to happen like sooner than we realize. But the way it's going to happen is different.
okay.
My perspective is, like consider 2 years ago, how many tools were you subscribing to? Probably none. I was not paying for any tool as such. Now I very eagerly pay monthly for like Claude, Cursor, and few other tools. So now that becomes an extension of me. I pay them because they are my helper. There is a very strong concept emerging called digital duplicate. And how it's happening is I customize these tools for me. Right now I do it in Claude by putting up templates. So that way I put up my thought process that how, if I'm using that helper, it should be mini me.
Yes.
That concept is emerging. So
Yes.
these Claudes of future would become digital duplicates of me.
Yes.
Companies like Flipkart, the way we see they're building apps and websites, that will change, I believe. They will optimize their applications for these digital duplicates. And that way we'll get hyper personalization. I would not visit Flipkart, Amazon, and Myntra separately. I'll ask my digital duplicate, given my personal objective, I want to do this.
Every consumer application that you have or if you build always will incentivize on getting the user back onto their application more than any other interface ever.
Right.
That's P0 of any consumer app. I need to have the highest MAU, highest retention, highest engagement. Otherwise, I'm a dead duck.
Yeah.
If the user is not going to come into my app, even if it's their digital agent, that whole interaction that I have with that app, that familiarity, the reason I go to Make My Trip against a Clear Trip, because I just feel more natively easy on that interface, etc., whatever, just goes out of the window, right?
True.
Everything becomes a commodity. Ticket booking could be done on a Make My Trip or a VR.com or Indigo's website for that matter, right? I just need to instruct the agent. But a Make My Trip doesn't want to optimize for that. They want the user to come onto their application. So them turning away into letting an agent or a digital duplicate of mine access that history of mine very easily, make it more easy for me as a user, I see that to be a big hurdle.
No, I don't think so. So think of it like this. Why, as a, like, let's say if you're building a marketplace, why do you want that user to be engaging with your app to start with?
Well, because more engagement leads to more AOV, more leads to more lifetime value.
So that's basically, no, but like, why would you want them to just stay in your ecosystem?
Because if I'm not top of the mind as an application for that user,
Yeah,
somebody else is going to come and take away that.
correct. So basically, you want them to spend more time on in your ecosystem of apps because you can collect more data about them.
Yeah.
You can understand them better.
Yes.
Now, that is one like aspect of me visiting Flipkart. You are collecting my e-commerce data. Now, with the access of these agents, you have access to much more bigger data that what I'm doing on other apps too. So now you can have a much more curated offer for me. Eventually, you wanted to do that. Now, because it's more curated, you would be able to sell more to me and you would be able to offer right discounts at the right time. So isn't it in your benefit too that you can now, your whatever cost of acquisition will come down a lot, CAC, because now you can have a broader perspective. And my
You're
digital
saying
duplicate is providing that.
That's an interesting way to put things, that you are actually able to deliver more value to the consumer, provided you let the digital duplicate access your interface, right?
Yep.
Technically, that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
But it's a hard thing to grasp for any consumer founder because we've been trained.
So,
But you have been actually doing that.
I think the last example I remember of it was picking up a phone and talking to someone. Otherwise, now has translated into going to the internet and searching. Every e-commerce portal ever optimizes itself the best it can to work with Google, to rank higher on Google. So they found this new mechanism of consumer acquisition, right? And they prepared for it. So if the new mechanism of acquisition becomes a digital, digital duplicate of yours, right? They will optimize for it. They want you to come there, right? So if the infra is changing, the buyer journey is changing, they will optimize for acquisition there as well. And right from that point, जैसे yesterday if I picked up a phone and booked with an agent versus when I go online and book via website, right? They get much more data. They can personalize a little bit more, right? If the digital duplicate goes there, right?
But see, there's a lot of gaps in that we are jumping through. One, that this opens up the marketplace for everybody to be neutral. For example,
No. I think that builds a more fairer ground, because now the
but there's no
pressure.
fair ground. The large companies.
What I meant by that was, the fair ground is that the true pressure now lies in having the best inventory, right? And not anything else. So now if my digital duplicate can tirelessly skim the internet for the best prices, right? The guy with the best price is going to win, no one else.
Plus, like a very good
But
example for this.
is that actually going to happen?
Yeah, very much possible.
Yeah.
UPI of today's world, it's the most neutral network ever.
Right.
Like if you make a payment on Google Pay versus Beam or some other app, it's the same payment. Why you are still stuck with one app? Why are you not using different like CRAD for one payment and Google Pay for one payment? Because the kind of experience Google Pay provides is very different from kind of experience CRAD will provide.
Yeah.
So you stay in that ecosystem because you get value out of it.
And you're used to, your data is there, you're used to the interface.
But under the hood, what's happening is that neutral network UPI, which made it all possible.
Sure.
So that neutral network will come in. Your AI agents will become the end user of any application.
So then the real wealth lies in being the digital duplicate, or the apps who create digital duplicates or who are able to deliver the best digital duplicates of my own self are where the real power sources lie in tomorrow's world.
Right.
Are we saying that?
So
Yeah, and this is not the only reason for that, by the way. There are other reasons too. This has a direct implication on how you work. Right now, if I'm a freelancer and if I just build, like if I devote my 9 to 5, 8 hours to a company, with my digital duplicates, I can do that like many foot. So I'll be able to accomplish many things. If I'm an SEO expert, why do I just work with one company? I would rather work with 10 companies at the same time. My digital duplicate would do it. So digital duplicate, that's why it's a very powerful concept. LinkedIn is actually spearheading this. LinkedIn has launched, like if you are let's say a marketer on LinkedIn, they let you create a sales agent, which kind of replicates your thesis.
Yeah.
So it's going to be like kind of like a real wealth maker, how you're making these digital duplicates.
And I'll just throw one more point into this just to end this. The only people that I see who will be able to, or not the only people, but let me say that Google and Apple are the best positioned to create a digital duplicates more than anybody else. They operate at the most big.
I would say Facebook would be much better than like Google and Facebook.
Facebook, Google, Apple, maybe Amazon to some extent.
Only Facebook,
right?
No, Google, I would not. Again,
but Google is Android, right? My phone is.
Yeah, I think mobile OS
Apple,
plus the Meta network.
But your social aspect of life is in the Facebook network. Your WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook. Name any fourth platform you use as a personality.
And not just that, by the way, one very common thing which we are overlooking is apps like ChatGPT and Claude. They have our interaction data like day in, day out.
Yeah.
So they understand how we speak, what kind of questions we want. So they could also be a.
So, but then what we're talking about is all of these are very, very large technology companies with endless budgets of sorts, right? Can a startup actually create a digital duplicate and break out? Can there be multiple small startups in that? Or are we only going to see concentration in digital duplicate creation by large technology companies?
Think of it like this. If these bigger companies, let's say one of them, they built a digital duplicate for you, right? They will create the first version of it. They'll give it to you, right? Like in your Claude, we do it too. Like ours is probably version 1.
ChatGPT, I have some level of my own digital duplicate.
Correct. And you have like it stores the memory. You can store a template. So it's like, let's say version 1. Now for you to know, because you have 10 digital duplicates working at the same time, you need to be on top of it. Going back to that digital poker analogy, you need to be like keeping track of all those 10 places or 10 agents. Now you would realize that this is not really like what I wanted. So you'll fine tune it. So these startups would really move fast into that layer, which will give you the control over a digital duplicate, where you can control things. So that's where I think still there is a first mover advantage.
What he's saying is totally right. I think there are two things that as a direction we are moving in. These big companies are always to give you the first iteration. Perfectly said. Why? Because it takes money, top talent, and first again, engineering first iteration is never about the professionalism or
Cursor
perfect
and
product.
Cloud is a
Yeah,
classic example.
and
Yeah.
it's all about getting something out of the way, and then optimization comes on later. So what what DeepSeek did to ChatGPT was it invented a novel technique within a budget and gave a new way of thinking that boss, you don't need millions of dollars. It made a lot of people think about GPUs, right? So what I think is you will see SLMs, small language models, with the capacity of that can be comparable to current LLMs, which can be run on anything. You see, Apple is also coming up with the Siri intelligence, right?
Yeah.
So you will see that. And second thing about the data, let's say Flipkart refuses to do that. You need only one domino to fall and they will start running for it. What if Amazon enables you and they figure out just moat that if I give somebody flexibility enough to speak, he's gonna buy from me, then everything again changes.
You need one person to cave in,
Just
and everybody else will.
Just one, and FOMO is enough to make them move. I think Flipkart, the $1 Flipkart makes is it's more happier about Amazon losing $1. I think so.
Okay, so let's bring ourselves back to the point where we were very excited and wanted to head forward in, which was Har Ghar Engineer, right? So coming back to Har Ghar Engineer, we understand that a lot of people will now be able to build things by themselves really fast, and they don't have to depend on a educated, like ऐसा professionally जिसको engineering आता है, the computer science graduate पे नहीं depend करने का, right? So what happens to the computer science graduate? There are kids who are basically spending so much time learning on how to do this shit. And now suddenly somebody comes and says that everything that you studied, अब ये आता है अपने को, right? That happened very much to a lot of content writers, by the way.
Yes.
All freelance content writers, they're like, now they have to run and figure out what to do now, right? How to make money now, right? So what is your perspective? And by the way, my LinkedIn, my Twitter is flooded with people saying, "Bhai, engineers की job गई, ये हुआ, वो हुआ." 100 different opinions on those lines.
And that too from very polished, top of the notch people.
Yeah. You look at that
Gumroad,
Replit founder.
Amjad, Replit founder. Everybody thinks software engineering is in for a big overhaul.
They're actually not saying that software engineering is dead. They're saying like mediocre software engineering roles would be gone. Right?
Yes. So we are looking for these nuances. Like, tell us more about how exactly is a software engineer thinking about.
So very simply put, if we say that LLMs are going to replace engineers, they're highly efficient, they get work done quickly, you can produce more stuff. Producing more stuff means like you will have 100 times more code now. It's not possible that you put something out and it works just perfectly fine throughout its lifetime. If you have 100 times more code in future than what you have today, and there is some issue, who will help you debug? So that kind of roles will emerge. Like a very simple example, cybersecurity roles. If you ask a LLM to create an app, it does not make sure that it's all very secure app, right? But when you put it out, you get exposed to so many other things like DDoS attack and whatnot.
Right.
You need those kind of people who can understand that code quickly using LLM tools and know when to interject, when to say that this is wrong, use this, or advise it. So those kind of roles will emerge. The common engineering would become of that sort, which is like a fact checker for LLM, making sure that whatever LLM is doing is right and also debugging that. So that's also like
would you say that a software engineer's job will move less from creation to more like an editor?
So no, actually it will go into the extremes. It will become a maintenance job as well as a research job. There would not be something just writing code. You will either innovate and invent new things, get into research, or you will act more of a agent handler. Like trading is a brilliant example of it. So initially trading wasn't like that automated. So it used to be on order books and stuff. When software came, that did not like take away their jobs. It's not that these high frequency traders are like out of job now. Now they have better tools. So now they can devise better strategies. So now they're more focused on the statistical analysis of it. They analyze things better. They come up with better strategy. Initially, if you want to test the strategy, it would take you days. Now with tools, you can backtest strategies. You can start with like out of 10 strategies, you'll pick one which is best. that would have taken you months initially.
So one final thing here. 3 years ago, if I was graduating from a college as a computer science graduate, right, there are a certain set of things I would prep myself for. And this entire tech hiring industry is pretty big, right? So these guys go through, questions to expect, some dummy interviews and this and that, a lot of things happening there. Today, or maybe let's talk about 2026. And this is just, we don't have to be right about it. We are trying to be indicative of it, right? So this 5-year delta, 2026 and 2021, right? What does it look like for a fresh computer science graduate? What will change drastically? What is it that they will experience differently this time in 2026?
I zoned out kind of. No, I fully agree with him. I think I'm gonna talk from a fully college person's perspective because I'm fresh out of college. Sorry, been 4 years. Sorry. I think it's
sorry, before you share that, if you would want to touch a minute upon your history, because I know you personally, but a lot of people wouldn't know. You've come from not an IIT.
Yeah.
You've scraped up, you've leveled up yourself at multiple times, right? So you want to give 1 minute about how you have done so far things in life and how things you would do today if you were 5 years younger.
Okay. So people might not agree with me because in hindsight, everything feels right.
Sure.
Right. So just given that, I come from a, you can say, tier 3.5 college. Okay. But I never considered myself one. So this is for everybody who consider them, like, don't bracket yourself. And this is not the time to be bracketed by it. It's all about willpower right now. So I came from a very government sarkari college where, grass ain't green and girls ain't pretty. Okay. So things went like that.
One more one-liner.
So I started my own thing, not out of creativity or obsession about startup, because the best startup my college had was a chole bhature ka stall. But yes, I was part of a lot of communities, which really helped me because it's all about perspectives. More you have, better your life is, because I met some great people who made it out. Like I saw somebody get into Zomato with an open source route, which was a fucking new thing for me because in my college, DSA was like, DSA kar lo, ho jayega, nahi karoge to nahi hoga, right? Very, very, very simple in India. This is also changing. So what I went was, I tried my thing, I failed. I really didn't make it. Made some bucks, yes. Then I went into, understood the whole startup space, built some connections, and that landed me my first job as a founding engineer. Work there, understood, work with the greatest minds. Fun fact about my first company, it was owned by IITians, and 90% of the crowd was IIT. That gave me a validation that even if I'm not from IIT, I belong to the same crowd. It's all about the mind right now. So that gave me the validation I needed, right? And then I moved to another founding engineer's role, loved the taste of it. In between, I tried my own thing just because I was founding engineer. I never stopped trying, but I failed every time. That is for real. But it's not a failure. Like I'm moving towards that, and the quality of life is improving, right? So that is my background where I'm coming from. For a typical Indian person, right? How they go into colleges, this is a 4-degree year program, right? 12th JEE mains, they get PTSD. It takes them 1 year to recover. First year is blown out of it. I think it is common across all the colleges. They take 1 year to understand the actual fuck just happened.
We shouldn't even have gotten here for a
Right. I am getting PTSD just talking about it. JEE advanced? No, Marlboro advanced right now. Fuck that. है ना कि एक और लाइन थी इस पे, माय सीनियर यूज्ड टू से कि दिक्कत जितनी बड़ी एडवांस उतनी छोटी. So stop wasting time. Really, like, do not think that this is gonna not give you a job, anything. Life works on FOMO. People are always trying to sell you things, be it Replit or anything. Yes, they are very well established guys than me, but always think, do they have a conflict of interest and do they have something to sell to, right? Like this sphere, does this sphere they are telling me, like, is a shameless plug for any product? You have to check that, right? Personally, if I look in hindsight, it is way, way easier for me to understand things now because where I landed after getting, like, tic-tac-toeing my way out of the college, I could have just asked ChatGPT. I really think that what I learned in college, I can condense into 1 month of ChatGPT. Really. So yes, bar is high. In your desi terms, it's gonna become a CA like of situation. बनने में फट जाएगी, लेकिन बनने के बाद पैसा आना बंद नहीं होगा. एंड एज ही करेक्टली सेड, रिसर्च यू हैव टू डू. वो टाइम गया बेटा जब जब वो कोडिंग कर ली, डीएसए कर ली, अब कुछ नहीं होने वाला उससे. यू हैव टू रियली बी वेरी क्रिएटिव अबाउट इट. सो व्हाट हैपेंस टू मीडियोकर गिटारिस्ट? They don't make it. That's gonna happen to mediocre engineers. They're not gonna make it. If you're okay with 30,000 a month, 50,000 a month, that's fine. फोकट का पैसा अब बहुत क्वालिटी पे बरसेगा, and it's happening. I'm sure you are already paying very high bucks for people who can use AI, right? Might not be hiring much, but you are paying way better than what you have.
Yeah.
Particular person. So that's happening. I am from the same thing. I see this is happening, and nobody knows what's gonna happen in 4 years. Try to cope up with it. It's overwhelming. It's exhausting. It will be very, I don't know what kind of experience it will be for you, but one thing for sure, just hang out with for a couple of months. You will realize whether engineering is for you or not very fast, because it really took comedians to realize that in 10 years. Now you can do it in a couple of months.
So what you're saying, if I were to summarize, is that if you truly immerse yourself in AI and use it in the right way, you will be 10x better than you were yesterday. You'll be unstoppable.
Not just engineering. You probably might find out what you are curious about. You don't have to, like to and fro between sources. Yaar, ye kaisa hai, wo kaisa hai. Just talk to it. See if it's curious. Just like founders now. You are founder for your own life, right? Your life is also a startup, right? You are going to decide where it ends. Okay? So it's like, think of your life in markets. You are operating in educational market, job market, marriage market, life markets, and try to optimize for that. So जो वो पैशन वाली बात थी और जो अर्निंग वाली बात थी, they are converging now. अब पैशन वाकई में पैसे दिलाएगा. इंजीनियरिंग यूज्ड टू बी अ इंडियन गो टू थिंक कि यार पैसे नहीं बनेंगे. इंजीनियरिंग का इन्वेस्टमेंट टू अर्निंग रेशियो इज क्रेजी. That's gonna change for sure.
Okay.
So, founders are becoming engineers. Engineers are becoming founders.
Yeah, the lines are somewhere.
I think, hierarchy, as he said, and titles are gonna get very convoluted. You cannot really say, I am an engineer. No, bro, you might be a founder who turned into an engineer and does product on the side and sometimes tests it. So, एक tag से अब बात नहीं बनने वाली. You will either go to the metal or be a super journalist. Anything, throw at me.
So, jack of all trades, or at the extreme end of...
Yeah, if you want to be master, then be master, but it's going to take time. And I think better idea is to figure out what works for you. I know. And I don't really think you can become a specialist until you have tried a lot of things. So you have to be generalist first, then, pins down into one thing.
And think of it like content creators, no? There are so many content creators. It's so easy to create content, but still there are some great ones.
Is that a pun?
For example, were you?
Alavadia in the house.
No, okay. But I was putting you in the great content creator bucket.
Yes.
For the sake of it.
Absolutely.
Before, like, share, subscribe, guys. We have to keep repeating.
Yeah. No, we have to keep repeating that for sure. So, Abhi, if you are watching right now, the only thing you have to do is find a like, share, or subscribe button and immediately do that. Also, I think we have reached the end of this episode more or less. This has been an incredible episode. So much for us to take away from this. Thank you so much for spending your time here.
Please, guys, like, share, subscribe, or AI Jesus is coming for you. Please out.
Thank you for having me. But if you guys watching this and you are getting into this career of software engineering, I believe that this conversation might help you draft the next steps of your career. So yeah, please do comment on this video, like, share, and subscribe, obviously.
Check out Dhruv's startup. It's called Pipe. If you're a developer, engineer, I think he does a fab job of helping you.
Yeah. If you're building, if you've built an agent from 0 to 1, let us help you take it from 1 to 10. So yeah.
And if you want to build anything new from scratch, we have...
Yours truly is here.
So your 0 to 1 and 1 to 10 is here.
Yeah. And together we will take you from 0 to 100.
All right. Thanks everyone.